Hello and welcome to Report Desk Africa, the show that gives you all the button issues that have been discussed over the past week, particularly stories that have been taken by News Central correspondents. My name is Bernard Akede, and it's lovely to be on the show this week. I know I've not been a regular on the show, but this time I'm here to stay. Now, this week, we're going to be talking about certain issues that concern not just Nigeria now, but outside the shores of Nigeria. We're going to be starting with the elections in the United States. It's no news that Donald Trump is coming back as the 47th president of the United States and coming back for a second term. 4 years, maybe, if he's not going to be impeached between the period. But we're looking at how his election success or election victory would affect policies, not just in America, but around the world, and particularly here in Nigeria. And of course, I'm not doing this alone. I'm here with the only constant
on
face
the show.
That's
right. That's me. My name is Blessings Mosugo, and I'm sure you know that by now if you're a lover of Report Desk Africa, because I'm the only one you see most times. The other people just come and go. But yes, thank you for joining us again. And yes, the stakes are high. And just like Bennett said, we have been following the United States elections. And as much as some other people, according to our international correspondent, have been disappointed by the news, there's also celebration. So it's basically, you know, two sides of the coin. It's left to see what the incoming president will make of this position and to see the drama that would unfold, because of course there's always drama with those people. Now, the stakes are high, like I said, and these topics affect both the political as well as the economic fabrics of the society that we live in. Now, before diving into our topics for today, we'll definitely update you on the forecast that we had as of last week. And the first story that we have been following is the one where the tensions remain high in Mozambique following the last elections, as opposition candidate Venancio Mondlane remains adamant on concealing. Also, South Africa's debt is anticipated to stabilize at 75.5% of GDP by 2025-2026. The economy is forecast to grow by an annual average of 1.8% over the next 3 years as well. And the third story is, of course, coming back to Nigeria, where the the Independent National Electoral Commission, we know it as INEC here, is or has released the schedule for the upcoming Ondo State governorship elections, which, of course, starts on the 16th of November, sometime next week. Well, we'll be diving straight into these particular topics, which we have mentioned earlier, but we'll go on a very quick break just before we do that. And when we come back, Donald Trump will be our first point of conversation. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. If you're just joining us, like we always say, you haven't missed much, you just missed the introductions. But then someone once told me after the show that if you're not introduced, then you've missed a lot. Anyway, going straight into the show now. And of course, Donald Trump is back. Sounds like the beginning of a movie, doesn't it? Well, we might just be on for a movie next 4 years in the United States. But yes, Donald J. Trump is back, and his victory has brought waves of reactions from Wall Street in New York to Lagos streets here in Nigeria. And the big question now is, what does this mean for Africa and Africans? Trump's foreign policies in the past were often seen as America first. But how might these policies shape Africa's diplomatic and economic landscape going forward? Blessings? I mean, right point there, Bernard. In fact, some would even say that it's not just America first, it's America only. Now, while some analysts predict a hard stance on migration and trade policies, others are more optimistic, suggesting that Africa might leverage new opportunities if Trump's administration reshapes the global alliances. So very quickly, let's take a listen to the president-elect's speech.
This was a movement like nobody's ever seen before. And frankly, this was, I believe, the greatest political movement of all time. There's never been anything like this in this country, and maybe beyond. America has given us an unprecedented and powerful mandate. We have taken back control of the Senate. Wow, that's good. It's time to put the divisions of the past 4 years behind us. It's time to unite. And we're going to try, we have to try, and it's going to happen. Success will bring us together. I've seen that. They came from all corners, union, non-union, African-American, Hispanic-American, Asian-American, Arab-American. Muslim American. We had everybody, and it was beautiful. It was a historic realignment. This is a great job. There's no job like this. This is the most important job in the world.
All right, now we'll go on a very quick break. You just heard the, would I call it, victory speech by Donald J. Trump. He's coming back for a second term, and he's coming back this time as the 47th president of the United States. We're going on a quick break, and when we come back, our guest will be joining us in the studio just to discuss. All right. All right, well, our guest is in the studio with us already, so there's no need hiding him. He's Dapo Adigboye, who always comes in when we call on him. By the way, blessings, let me quickly say that Dapo majored in international diplomacy and international relations. Am I right or wrong?
No wonder.
Well, thank you so much.
Dapo should be our international correspondent.
He
Right?
should. You know, Dapo is the actual definition of know a little about everything and everything about a little about something. That's Dapo for you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It's actually diplomacy and international.
Does this sound
and
like Trump,
strategic studies.
or is it just me?
I think that's
You
what he was
sound
trying
like
to.
Trump
That's what he was
boy.
trying to do.
Yeah, you know, but thank you so much for having me on the program. It's great to be here as always. I mean, you guys are absolutely amazing. Blessings, your outfit.
Yeah.
Bernard.
Oh,
Hey.
please, you started with blessings. Please, let's move on. Let's move on.
Anyway.
Yeah. So,
I mean,
first, you know,
pivotal
jumping in straight,
time.
first of all, you know, first of all, let me ask you very quickly, and I'll ask both of you, Dapo, did you expect that Donald Trump was
Should
going
I
to
be
win?
candid with you?
Very quickly, 1 minute.
Okay, I might offend some people. Yes. I projected this a long time. I knew he was going to be president. I knew he was going to come back.
And why
As
did
a
you
matter
think
of
so?
fact, what was my choice pick?
We will get to that.
I know some people say, Dapo, but why? I'm sorry, Kamala, you're fired.
Why did you think he was going to win? Very quickly, why do you think he was going to win?
Okay, the truth is this. Forget the rhetoric. Forget all of the drama and the, you know, permit me to use the word shenanigan associated with Trump. He spoke to the issues of the Americans.
That's all I want to know. Blessings, what did you think, and why did you think that?
Well, so I didn't really think Kamala would win, right? Because I feel like there was a bit of a rush. Even she didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
But that's not an excuse, because many people say, oh, she didn't have enough time. No, that's not the case. But I didn't see her winning. And I would play to the opinion of the masses when I say that America really wasn't ready for a female president. They said it, they campaigned, but we knew deep down it was not going to happen.
Coming from a woman, that's deep. But I agree with you.
It's true.
I agree with you. Dapo, let's now jump, you know, directly into it.
Yeah.
What do you think Trump's election, Trump's victory would mean to Africans, first of all, before we now come to Nigerians? Because look, the places you go into in America, you are in Lagos.
So, I mean, just a bit of background to this. Donald Trump was president. It was the 45th president. And then right now, he's been elected the 47th president. Now, the truth is this. Many will tell you it's a bit rough on the edges, right? In terms of his demeanor, choice of words. Some will say he is not your regular, typical politician. But guess what? He echoes the minds of many Americans. And I think your first constituency is your country. Even though we know that America is the, more or less, the capital of the world, so to speak. So what does this portend for Africa? I know that right now there is apprehension because Trump has said it, part of his campaign tool, which of course he has been consistent on, is strict immigration policies. And what is he saying basically? If you want to come into America, come in through the front door. Don't come in through the back door. Now, his typical scenario is, Ben, if I come and visit you in your house and I take the window, is that not awkward? So I know that this is a sensitive area, but there should be order, there should be law, right, in all of this. So for many Africans, I know that many will be asking, so what becomes of Japa, for instance, to America? For now, I want to believe that there are lessons learned from his first administration, which I believe maybe he might choose to refine, even if he goes about that route. Because I watched his acceptance speech, the very first speech, and he sort of gave a hint into what that policy said, coming in the right way. He's not even talking about the war now, coming in the right way. So you might just have a situation whereby before you come in, you might just need to make sure they are properly documented, which I don't think is bad. Also, in the area of AIDS, you know, foreign policy and all of that, Trump is a businessman. He believes that you put your money where your mouth is. We know that America has played the role of big brother in the world for several years. That includes giving out, you know, monies and loans. But one of the things that led to the fall, not fall per se, but the loss of the Democrats is Americans started asking questions. What are you doing with our taxpayers' money? When back home, the price of groceries is competing with our mortgage. This is a life they were never used to before. It wasn't this bad, even though, you know, there are reports saying that the economy is picking up and all. But we know what usually happens during the election period, right? So there are deeper issues than this right now. And I just feel that as this would portend for Africa, I feel that it would just mean that Africa and a lot of African countries might just need to sit up because it might not be business as usual. Yeah. So.
Okay. So what you see on the screen now those are live views from people waiting for the speech, which will be taking in no time. The president-elect will be addressing the...
Joe
Biden.
Yeah, the current
I beg your pardon.
Honestly, I feel like he's gone already.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
right.
I feel like he's
the
not
current
the
president who has
anymore.
been well represented by Kamala Harris for a while will be addressing the people. But one thing that I think a lot of people are concerned about, I don't think is much of our problem, but since we're discussing it, let's just talk about that, is what becomes of his legal charges. We know that he's facing almost a dozen charges, and it's been well established over time that a sitting president cannot exactly be prosecuted.
So that is another naughty area. And this also, I mean, this election was a first of many for the American people. You know, convicted individual running for the top job, you know, and then you have the first, not first female per se, but not core American, you know, the decent. So we will just wait and see. But from the look of things, it might just not stick. It really might not stick, right? Because, I mean, Kamala has conceded, right? So we might just be seeing a situation whereby those legal hurdles might just really not stay. But the big picture is there are fears globally as regards, not just fears globally, but even within the country as regards the future of the war in Ukraine and what we have in Gaza. Because we know that America has been a pivotal partner with Ukraine and even Israel, in this. And that issue alone, particularly that of Gaza, has been a sensitive one because a lot of people, particularly Americans, are asking that why should America, you know, sponsor such, you know, a war, particularly when, you know, children are involved and all of that. So Trump has said he will do something about it, maybe end it. I remember one of his campaign speeches, he said he will end it overnight.
I was going to go there. He said the first day.
I particularly think that this war should end because it has impacted, you know, deeply on global trade. For instance, the price of the petrol globally, also raw materials. Someone was telling me that, you know...
the price of wheat. Coincidentally,
yes.
Which also affected bread.
Grain.
Right?
I even hear that some components for your phone, too, comes from these regions.
These areas,
So the world definitely will want to see all of these conflicts come to an end, you know, and peace reign eventually. So, and Trump is known to be a man of peace, even though he has a very rough, you know,
That's
persona.
That's an odd way of showing.
Yes, his first administration, there was no single war.
Truly,
it was pretty peaceful.
As a matter of fact, that was going to be my next, you know, point of conversation.
And that played a pivotal role in his campaign and, you know, re-election into office. So he promised, and Americans are holding, you know, that to him, that You need to do something about this war. America needs to take a decisive stand to end, not just talk about it, not be diplomatic about it, but find a way to sort of, you know, put an end to this war because they are major financiers.
Definitely, I totally agree. It was after his first 4 years that Russia invaded Ukraine. And then you remember that during his own first tenure, he was actually, he made friends with our friend in North Korea, Kim Jong-un, and you used to call him Little Rocket Man. But at least they were friends, you know, and there were no threats during that period. It was after he left the office that Russia invaded Ukraine. We saw issues with North Korea continuing to test ballistic weapons, and then of course we saw the Gaza, Israel. But you know, that aside, we're coming to Africa now. I attended a program by the NIIA, National Institute of International Affairs in Lagos here, and there were arguments back and forth for Trump and Kamala Harris. We're now looking at military support, military warfare. Before we go on, that's like Blessings introduced, that's President Joe Biden, the current President Joe Biden, is about to give his own speech. I think if we're ready, we'll cross over to that, or I'll just quickly continue, and then we see. All right, well, while we're waiting for Joe Biden, okay. So while we're waiting for Joe Biden to commence his speech, I'll quickly continue. I was talking about, you know, America's support to military warfare when it comes to foreign policies and diplomacy. And the argument there that day was that during Obama's time, as a matter of fact, while we sing Obama's praises, if you look at the figures, Obama didn't do so well for Africa and Africans, right? But Obama never set foot on Nigeria, right? And then it was Trump who agreed to sell us the Super Tucano jets, not Obama. But before we continue with that, President Joe Biden is speaking, so let's quickly join him.
Will of the people always prevails. Yesterday, I spoke with President-elect Trump to congratulate him on his victory. And I assured him that I'd direct my entire administration to work with his team to ensure a peaceful and orderly transition. That's what the American people deserve. Yesterday, I also spoke with Vice President Harris. She's been a partner and a public servant. She ran an inspiring campaign, and everyone got to see something that I learned early on to respect so much, her character. She has a backbone like a ramrod. She has great character, true character. She gave her whole heart and effort, and she and her entire team should be proud of the campaign they ran. You know, the struggle for the soul of America since our very founding has always been an ongoing debate and still vital today. I know for some people, it's a time for victory, to state the obvious. For others, it's a time of loss. Campaigns are contests of competing visions. The country chooses one or the other. We accept the choice the country made. I've said many times, you can't love your country only when you win. You can't love your neighbor only when you agree. Something I hope we can do, no matter who you voted for, is see each other not as adversaries, but as fellow Americans. Bring down the temperature. I also hope we can lay to rest the question about the integrity of the American electoral system. It is honest, it is fair, and it is transparent. And it can be trusted, win or lose. I also hope we can restore the respect for all our election workers who busted their necks and took risks at the outset. We should thank them. Thank them for staffing voting sites, counting the votes, protecting the very integrity of the election. Many of them are volunteers who do it simply out of love for their country. And as they did their duty as citizens, I will do my duty as president. I'll fulfill my oath, and I will honor the Constitution. On January 20th, we'll have a peaceful transfer of power here in America. To all our incredible staff, supporters, cabinet members, all the people who've been hanging out with me for the last 4 years, God love you, as my mother would say. Thank you so much. You put so much into the past 4 years. I know it's a difficult time. You're hurting. I hear you and I see you. But don't forget all that we accomplished. It's been a historic presidency. Not because I'm president, because what we've done, what you've done. A presidency for all Americans. Much of the work we've done is already being felt by the American people, but the vast majority of it will not be felt over the next 10 years. We have legislation we passed that's just only now just really kicking in. We're going to see over $1 trillion worth of infrastructure work done, changing people's lives in rural communities and communities that are in real difficulty because it takes time to get it done. And so much more is going to take time, but it's there. The road ahead is clear, assuming we sustain it. There's so much we can get done and will get done based on the way the legislation was passed. And it's truly historic. You know, we're leaving behind the strongest economy in the world. I know people are still hurting, but things are changing rapidly. Together, we've changed America for the better. Now we have 74 days to finish the term, our term. Let's make every day count. That's the responsibility we have to the American people. Look, folks, you all know it in your lives. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. Setbacks are unavoidable, but giving up is unforgivable. We all get knocked down. But the measure of our character, as my dad would say, is how quickly we get back up. Remember, a defeat does not mean we are defeated. We lost this battle. The America of your dreams is calling for you to get back up. That's the story of America for over 240 years and counting. It's a story for all of us, not just some of us. The American experiment endures. We're going to be okay, but we need to stay engaged. We need to keep going. And above all, we need to keep the faith. I'm so proud to have worked with all of you. I really mean it. I sincerely mean it. God bless you all. God bless America. And may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
So I was about clapping, you know, when he was done and he said, thank God. I was honestly about clapping. But one thing I want to say is, if any of you watched or listened to Kamala Harris's acceptance speech, you will see that there were some similarities between what she said and what he also said. Yes, things may go wrong, but defeat doesn't mean you are beaten, right? And then what's important is that you don't stay down. We picked some things from what he said here. First of all, and I know that Blessings, you pointed this out, and I know what you're planning to do. He first talked about the electoral system, right? And he talked about it. Why are you smiling?
No,
and he talked about the success of the electoral system.
Yeah.
What are you planning to do? You're planning to compare?
So, I mean, while he was talking...
But let's start with that, right?
Yeah, so I was just... And so, first off, I would just say that's the definition of sportsmanship.
Exactly.
You understand that, in this case, it's not a game. It's the government, it's governance. The people need to be governed, regardless of who is being governed. So you have conceded, and now you're encouraging the people to work together. And I like that he kept emphasizing on togetherness. Let's work together. It's not now that you start dividing and, you know, pointing out the flaws of the other people. So while he was talking, I was just like, oh, my Nigeria. My dear country, Nigeria. Because, I mean, this is... what I'm about to say is all too familiar because we've seen it play out in every election where someone is coming out to talk and you can almost tell what they're going to say.
Exactly.
It's that time they'll point out, you know, the electoral process, we need to look into it, the veracity of the results, we don't know yet. You know, they think they've got us, but we're coming back. So it's just, so I was going to say, ask Dapo to compare.
Okay.
You know.
So I mean,
no,
in the words of the president, he said, what this reflects is an American electoral system that is honest, transparent, and fair. And for people that followed the process, right, you could literally, you know, aside the analysis that was happening across, you know, the media platforms, you could literally see the numbers as they were coming in.
Exactly.
It was that, like, I remember following close to about at least 3 foreign media platforms, and they were literally reporting the same thing. It means that the figures
were accurate. And
it wasn't contradictory.
Yeah.
And that tells you, you know, it shows you a system that is intentional. And guess what? America is way bigger than Nigeria.
Of course.
Way bigger.
It brings us back to the
in terms of even population too. I mean, so you ask yourself, I'm sure if this was Nigeria, let's come back home, you'll have started saying, oh, we'll meet at tribunal. It's the judiciary that would...
I mean, first things first, you know, let's look at the last election we had in Nigeria and see all the discrepancies and all the issues we had from counting to collation of results to moving
what you see
of those
on
results.
You know,
it's different from what you see on paper. But here, like you rightly said, what you see on one platform is the same as what you see on another platform. It's the same as what you see on all the screens. You know, so there's transparency. The whole electronic system, the major thing is that it gives forth for transparency.
For transparency.
Exactly.
And I mean, the crescendo or the climax to all of this is the opposition won. And in less than 48 hours, the incumbent called to congratulate.
The last time we had that was when Goodluck Jonathan was defeated by President Muhammadu Buhari.
Yes.
I still don't know how we got hand of that phone call. I don't know who recorded it, but...
You know, so I think for us, Nigeria, we know what is right. We know. We need to move from knowing and talking to acting.
All right.
And, you know, putting our words to action. Because at the end of the day, we see, we call these places, we say, oh, it's sinner climbs, it's sinner climbs. It's not rocket science. This is a country...
we are not mad.
Exactly. So there is a lot to learn and a lot to do, not just learn.
Okay, if there's anything that really made a lot of sense to me, not like the whole speech didn't, but the fact that he said setbacks are unavoidable, is giving up that is, you know, unpardonable. We're going to a short break now, and when we come back, we're talking about the post-elections in the United States and definitely the spirit of sportsmanship, as you rightly so. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Report Desk Africa. And before we went on break, we were talking about the United States elections and its aftermath that will see Donald Trump assume office in no time. And of course, we had the president for 74 more days, Joe Biden, addressing the people. And, you know, we're basically trying to compare what the electoral process is there and what it is in our dear country, Nigeria. And Dapo was making some very salient points. And we also did point out some of the major points that Joe Biden talked about. And one of the things he said, which is also true, is the fact that they have 74 more days. They've not forgotten that they're still in power, because what this period does is it makes you concede defeat so much that you now just wait out the 74 more days. So I want us to talk in that regard, you know, in the aspect of what more can be done. Already there are questions regarding the health of Joe Biden. So we understand that he can't function as much. What are we expecting from them in this next 2 to 3 months?
I mean, I think it's called the transition phase, where, or handover phase, where you do some sort of in-house cleaning in terms of, you know, the administration, and then properly do a handover, you know, to a swearing in and all. I think right now it's pretty clear where the direction of the country is going or headed. The elections have come and gone. They know who is coming back to the office. So we would see an administration that would maybe want to, in its own way, maybe wrap things up with Ukraine and, you know, its involvement in Ukraine and Russia, and also that of Israel and of course, their operations there in Gaza. We would also want to see an administration that would also try to tidy things up in terms of its achievements in the area of the economy, because the president did say that they were able to build one of the strongest economies in the world, even though many Americans are still questioning that, particularly, you know, their purchasing power. I was watching a video where a lady said a son had to move in to live with her. The son is 30 plus, had to move in because he couldn't afford, you know, groceries. And then we would also look at the aspects of foreign policy too, in terms of America's relationship with not just international, you know, organizations, but even the global community. One thing Trump did say in his speech is that he wants to make America powerful again in the global space. And I mean, we'll just wait and see, because we know that his first 4 years, he sort of pulled out of a lot of agreements. So part of it, you know, climate, from nuclear to climate, and so many other aggressively. So will he come back? Or will he? No, Joe Biden's administration brought some of those back. So the question is, will Trump retain those agreements?
Speaking of that, I'm sorry to interrupt you, just to quickly answer before, you know, in that same breath. I'm currently, as we speak, working on a report of, you know, some of the things that Trump said he will do when he comes into power. It might break your heart to know that Trump said, Trump has said, and this is among the top 7 things, if I remember my notes, he's going to take out some of those things and bring back his own policies. If you remember when he was there the last time, he said we're going to build a wall, you know, and shut out the southern border. He said he's going to do that again when he comes. He's talked about, so if you remember, there was also another law he did where there was this ban, travel ban on certain Islamic countries. He's going to bring that back all over again. He's still going to work on illegal migration, like you clearly stated. He said America is going to see the largest deportation
in one day,
it has ever seen. The largest deportation it has ever seen. But he says for illegal migrants, those who are there illegally. He's also talked, now one that may please people, he's also talked about the gay rights, you know, and saying that certain things should be taken out of schools. And some people have smiled about that one, particularly when it comes to the LGBTQ community and their practices and teachings taken out of school. Some things concerning unnecessary politicking or politics also taken out of school, you know, and stuff like that. And that he will not give a penny. You know, he's also not pro-vaccine when it comes to COVID and other things. He will not be giving a penny to schools that are, you know, that are pushing for vaccine or pushing for wearing of masks. He's also going to take that out. So it's a... when you ask what people feel about the policies that he's trying to bring back, I like to say, like the French would say, comme ci, comme ça, like this, like that. Yeah. He's good on one side, you would think, and he's funny on another side.
Which, of course, is peculiar with, you know, any new government.
Yeah, I think that
you bring in your ideas, the ideas you feel, you know, resonates with you and should work for the people. But what is the takeaway for Africa? Let's start with the electoral system.
Exactly.
Number 1, transparency, honesty, and fairness. The 3 words of the President, Joe Biden, in his speech. I think when it comes to our electoral system, Africa as a whole needs to work on it. You know, we have in this continent a president that has, in fact, we can call him a lifetime president. Yeah. Bob Biya, the longest ruling president. Are you telling me that in that entire country, there's no younger person that can do what he has done? You know, so, and that's just one. There are several others. And so I think that, I mean, we have a long way to go when it comes to elections. Transparent, honest, and fair. We've seen cases where elections were held and it turned out to be violent. There's even a particular country that is still reeling from the effect of it. I think Mozambique, I really cannot remember. Yes. So it just shows you a system that doesn't take that seat, that public seat, personal. You see it as a face. Yeah. Today you're there, tomorrow you're out. And I think the reason why it's also like that is because they have a system that allows for strong accountability.
So yes, exactly. I was going to say that.
So if you know that, look, even though you have all the power, by the time you are out, or even while you're even there, the law can still, you know,
I think
catch up
the
on you.
difference between them and the African continent is the system is separated from the person. But on the African continent, the person is the same with the system. So if the person has issues, exactly, if the person has issues with accountability, then the system has issues with accountability. But this one, we can see that individuals have personal agenda, but the system does not allow for it to infiltrate or influence how things are done.
I mean, and that shows a scenario where you have a system that is more powerful than any individual, you know,
I was discussing with producer Godwin in the office this morning, and we're talking about how the structures, different structures are there working, they are in place to ensure that the system works, right? First of all, we talk about the electoral structure. It's there. The different structures that act as or serve as checks and balances. You have the legislature, you have the judiciary. We've complained about that in Nigeria of recent, yeah. Sadly, in Nigeria here and many African countries, exactly. So to start with, you cannot have a system where a structure, you know, where one of the structures, for example, like the Electoral Commission. I know in Nigeria here we call it the Independent National Electoral Commission. Many have argued that the word independent should be taken away because it doesn't seem so independent after all, especially when it's been funded directly or indirectly from the presidency
or maybe
from
a
the government.
Mark should be put after the I.
And then there's also the judiciary we're complaining about right now, that the president recently increased the salaries of judges, right? And now if some of these, you know, these structures are not independent of the presidency or of the government, they're answerable to the government. But let's quickly move on. Now, there's something interesting he talked about, that's Joe Biden now. He gave kudos or credit to the electoral workers, most of which he said were volunteer staff. I've worked in elections before in Nigeria.
I have to.
Yeah. Blessings, have you worked in election before?
No,
I was once,
exactly.
I think it was my early days, very early days.
Yeah,
I was an adult staff.
Observer, and I can tell you that we were not volunteers. Let me put it that way. Whatever else you think, that's fine, but we're not volunteers. But the thing is, you know, you are seeing that, you're seeing that not just were they volunteers, you will see that they put in a lot to ensure that this works for their country. You know, it goes a lot to say, I mean, it goes a long way to say how these people are so invested in the electoral process of their country, as regards what we see here in many African countries.
I mean, just before we go, I was recently at a, will I call it retreat, you know, organized by INEC, and one thing that was pretty much emphasized by the agency is the political parties, how the beneficiaries of election, the political parties, you know, play a pivotal role in determining the quality, you know, to a very large extent of their work, and also the quality of the entire process. I think that there needs to be a law that puts all the political parties that are involved in that process in check. Because in fairness to political parties, whether it's you have thugs, you know, at snatching ballot, find out, once you do your due diligence, those thugs are affiliated with a party. Vote buying is mostly political parties. So maybe we need to start talking, and I'm talking across Africa right now, laws that put political parties in check, not just putting those laws in place, but also enforcement, that put political parties in check so that they play according to the rules of the game. I mean, this is a broad topic that we really cannot exhaust, you know, in one sitting.
Definitely. I know that this conversation is going to be ongoing, not just here, on several tables, across several platforms, and well, we will do our best to also keep you abreast of what's going on in America between now and January, eventually, when there will be the official handing over. Possibly, we will be there again during the handover. Who knows?
And I want to quickly say that this is the power of volunteering, because I want to believe that every single person who volunteered to do the work was partisan to one party or another.
The other, yeah.
But the fact that they decided that this country must work, we did not register any underworkings of, because another reason someone wants to volunteer is to just, you know, tweak the system a little bit. So yeah, kudos to them.
Kudos to them. There's a lot to learn, a lot to unravel, and we hope we have learned. We'll go straight to the focus, or we'll take a very, very quick break, and then we jump back in and give you some of the topics we're looking at in the coming week. Do stay with us.
So the first story we'll be following during the week is in Mozambique. Following the escalating crisis in the country, South Africa has temporarily shut its main border crossing with Mozambique after reports of vehicles being set on fire on the Mozambican side. Now, according to South African authorities, several Mozambican officials have asked to take refuge in the neighboring country, citing safety concerns.
And from there, we move to Nigeria, talking about insecurity, as if we don't have enough already. Now, the Nigerian Defense Headquarters confirms the emergence of a new terrorist group. This particular terrorist, a new terrorist group, it has confirmed, and terrorist group is known as Lukarawas. That's the name of the terrorist group in the northern part of the country, escalating insecurity in the northwestern part of Nigeria. Now, in a press briefing, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Edward Buba, said the new terrorist group emerged from Republic of Niger. We're playing the blame game now, but the sad truth is that there's a new terrorist group. Again, as if we don't have enough on our hands already. Anyways, ladies, gentlemen, Dapo, thank you so much for joining us.
As always, thank you for having me.
I see that you guys got the memo. The red, white is just blue that is missing for the American flag, right?
Right, that's true.
Anyhow, thank you so much, Dapo, for joining us. Blessings. It's been an amazing show.
You don't have to thank me. I'm always here.
Yeah, always here. I'm one who's not always here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, for our audience watching us and viewers, thank you for joining us. My name is Bernard Akede again. We'll do this again, same time next week, talking about some of the top stories across Africa covered by News Central reporters. This, of course, has been Report Desk Africa.
My name is Blessings Mosugu. Do have a lovely rest of your day.